and ready to read the last chapter of Think and Grow Rich. Okay, so I just started my my YouTube live streaming. So Kenya, if you give me, I don't know if you want to come back in an hour, I can do it for you. I do have clairvoyance. All right, let me get this last chapter done, y'all. I can't believe we finished this whole book, Think and Grow Rich. Chapter 15, How to Outwit the 6 Ghosts of Fear. So how many of these ghosts are standing in your way? Good morning, I'll be back. How many of these ghosts are standing in your way to finding true success? Last chapter of Think and Grow Rich. Thank you for the cherries. Before you can put any portion of this philosophy into successful use, your mind must be prepared to receive it. Preparation is not difficult. It begins with study, analysis, and understanding of 3 enemies that you got to get rid of. What are the 3 enemies? Indecision, doubt, fear. The sixth sense will never function while these 3 negatives or any of them remain in your mind. The members of this unholy trio are closely related. Where one is found, the other 2 are close. Indecision is the seed of fear. Huh, I didn't know that. Indecision crystallizes into doubt. The 2 blend and becomes fear. So if you're ever indecisive about something, then you can start to create doubt about that thing. And then the doubt will lead you into fear that will prevent you from taking up an opportunity. Okay. Okay, Yada. Cool. The blending process often is slow. This is one reason why these 3 enemies are so dangerous. They germinate and grow without their presence being observed. So if any of you, how many of you suffer from indecision? For real. I meet a lot of women at my center who suffer from indecision. If you have indecision and you let it sit for a while, it turns into fear by blending with doubt. I mean, that's deep right there. The purpose of this chapter is to turn the spotlight of attention upon the cause and cure of the 6 basic fears. So let's first start with the 6 basic fears. Well, then that's good, because then if you buy it all, then you won't allow doubt to take seed. And that's what they're saying. Like, everybody knows we can't be fearful when we live this life, but we don't know how we become fearful. So here they just laid it out for us. And they said, oh, you become fearful because if you start by having indecision. Now, indecision, people can understand. It's either you make a decision or you don't. So if you keep choosing not to make a decision, then you start to plant doubt. And then once doubt gets in there, oh, those 2 blend and make the fear. And then that's how we catapult. Now, tell me how much of these 6 basic fears y'all got. All right. So the 6 basic fears, the fear of poverty. I have that. I'll tell you that, right? That's why I work so hard. The fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health. Ill health does drive me because that's why I work out so much, right? The fear of loss of love or of someone. Like if you fear somebody breaking up with you because they fall out of love with you, do you have that fear? The Black Unicorn, we're finishing last chapter of Think and Grow Rich. So we're going over the 6 basic fears. Tell me, if you want to, how many of these do you have? The 6 basic fears are the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love of someone, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. I have 2 of those 6. I have fear of poverty and fear of ill health. You got 4 of those. Ooh, okay. So the thing is what we just realized for this book is that fear takes root because it starts with indecision. When you have indecision, what are your 3, Rosé? If you don't mind sharing. And Black Unicorn, if you don't mind sharing. I don't know if you guys are okay with that. But I'll tell you that Black Unicorn, he says that you start with indecision, and then indecision creates doubt. And indecision and doubt mixed together creates fear. Poverty and health. We have the same too, poverty and health. That's why I work out. I try to take care of myself, go to the gym and stuff like that. I mean, if you're going to get sick, you're going to get sick, but at least we can try to do things, right, as we get older to combat that. All other fears are of minor importance. They can be grouped under these 6 headings. The prevalence of these fears as a curse to the world runs in cycles. For almost 6 years, while the depression was on, we floundered. Poverty, loss of love, and health. Okay. So like a lot of us have poverty and health. So we have to start being less indecisive in those areas so we can get out of those cycles. For almost 6 years, while the depression was on, we floundered in the cycle of fear of poverty. So, it's funny, this book was written in 1937 when they were coming out of the depression. And we're reading it now as we come out of COVID, right? So we can kind of, thank you for the cherries, we can really kind of understand what they're saying, because we all had a fear of poverty last year when COVID shut down our businesses. During the World War, we were in the cycle of fear of death. Well, we were too with COVID. Just following the war, we were in the cycle of fear of ill health. Interestingly enough, so were we with COVID. Thank you for the raised hands. Right? Fears are nothing more than states of mind. One's state of mind is subject to control and direction. Physicians, as everyone knows, are less subject to attack by disease than ordinary laymen for the reason that physicians do not fear disease. Yes, and you're right, because they did have the polio outbreak as well. Very true. Now, how many of us can say that we don't fear disease? Physicians, without fear or hesitation, have been known to physically contact hundreds of people daily who were suffering from such contagious diseases as smallpox without becoming infected. Their immunity consisted largely, if not solely, in their absolute lack of fear. Hey, Rosario. Man can create nothing which he does not first conceive in the form of an impulse of thought. Following this statement comes another important one, namely, man's thought impulses begin immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent. Now, that's important to understand. What they're saying is, as quickly as you think it, is as quickly as it manifests. As quickly as you think it is as quickly as it, yeah, repeat that. Man's thought impulses began immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent. Whether your thoughts are voluntary or involuntary. So if you just have involuntary thoughts, you just don't have control over your mind, then you can be creating things without you even knowing you're creating things. And I tell this to women all the time because they sit there and fantasize about their husband cheating on them. Well, thanks for giving us the blueprint about how it's going to happen. Thought impulses, which are picked up through the ether by mere chance, may determine one's financial, business, professional, or social destiny, just as surely as thought impulses which one creates by intent and design. So imagine this, that your thoughts, whether you plan to or not, are going to manifest your reality. Wouldn't it be really cool if you were on such a high vibration or frequency that you're not even thinking about a thing, but it's working out for you? Because that's just the level of conscious thoughts you're sending out into the ether. Does anybody understand what I'm saying? Like, they always talk about how negative it is if your unconscious thoughts are going out into ether. But what if we were so healed, we were so good in our mindset, so like balanced, so ethical, and have so much integrity that we wouldn't even be thinking about speaking it into existence, but it would just be happening on its own because we're at that high vibration. I mean, when you think about it, like, what if, because, okay, all these laws were around when Jesus was around, right? Hey, Smokey. All these laws were around when Jesus was around. So who's to say that a lot of the miracles he did weren't really miracles at all, but just laws of nature going into practice. Because that man was at a high vibration, y'all. He was a kind man and compassionate, heart full of gold and love. And who's to say that he wasn't just manifesting everywhere he went? You know what I'm saying? Like feeding 5,000 people with 1 loaf of bread and 2 fish. It's just, possibilities are endless. That's where my mind goes about it. Okay, we are laying the foundation for the presentation of a fact of great importance to the person who does not understand why some people appear to be lucky while others of equal or great ability, training, and experience seem destined to ride with misfortune. This fact is explained by the statement that every human being has the ability to completely control his own mind. And with this control, every person who opens his mind to the thought impulses which are being released by other brains, or close the doors tightly and admit only thought impulses in his own choice. We were made in the image of him. Exactly. I try to tell y'all, man, Jesus knew about these laws. I'm telling y'all right now, he knew about the laws. I don't know how he walked on water, but I have theories. Now, you remember the earlier chapter, they talked about you receive information from infinite intelligence. But you remember in the other chapter, they said that we can also receive information from other brains, other minds. How many of you have had an idea and you didn't act on it, and then you notice somebody else acted on that idea? Because I'll tell you, it's happened several times to me. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, damn. And it works out. Yes. So what that's saying, make it for me too. So what that's saying is that you're not moving fast enough, because as quickly as that thought comes to you to do it, you don't do it, you sit on it, and then somebody else around you in your vicinity is picking up on your thought waves. By no fault of your own, but by effort on their part, because they're doing the things to have that clarity of mind to pick up other thoughts by other brains. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's important to, like, when you get those messages, you work on those messages. All right, so we're going to talk about each of the fears. The fear of poverty. There can be no compromise between poverty and riches. The two roads that lead to poverty and riches travel in opposite directions. So you can't desire riches if you have a poverty mindset, or if you live in poverty. You could still live in poverty, but have a rich mindset. Y'all understand that, right? If you want riches, you must refuse to accept any circumstance that leads towards poverty. What does that mean? Hey, Empress Mandy, we're reading the last chapter of Think and Grow Rich. Hey, what's good? So yeah, explain this to me. If you want riches, you must refuse to accept any circumstance that leads towards poverty. No tolerance of settlement or comfortability. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense, actually. You explained that well. The word riches is here used in its broadest sense, meaning financial, spiritual, mental, and material riches. The starting point of the path that leads to riches is desire. Remember, that was first chapter. In chapter 1, you receive full instructions for the proper use of desire. In this chapter on fear, you have complete instructions for preparing your mind to make practical use of desire. Okay? If after reading this chapter you are willing to accept poverty, you may as well make up your mind to receive poverty. So don't accept the situation you're in. Desire more. Because if you stop desiring, right? Drive and want to get out and... Correct. That's it. What's good. That's it. And there's a lot of people who accept their situation. Oh, okay. I make so much coin a year and I'm going to make it fit. No, don't make it fit. Still keep desiring. You want that boat? Go get that boat. You want that car? Go get that car. You want that college fund for your kid? Go get that college fund for your kid. Because they say it in Rich Dad, Poor Dad too. You have to pay yourself first and then the bills. So if you keep paying yourself and you don't have money left over for bills, the mind is a beautiful thing. It's going to come up with ways to get that money to pay the bills. But you got to keep desiring. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to live my life according to what's coming in. You got to live your life off of what you want and then watch the money come in. I mean, that just made a lot of damn sense. I just blew myself away on that one. Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Fave me. Right. That's what I just picked up, Eon, is that you have to continuously keep dreaming of more. So here I am, settled, happy, peaceful, content, new love relationship. Ooh, sitting here all happy. But guess what? If I sit here happy, how am I going to get better, say like in live streams? How am I going to get more diamonds in live streams? How am I going to get more money at my center if I'm telling the universe I'm content? That don't even make any sense. Well, but that's the thing. They're actually advocating for people not so much to overspend, but to like I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Exactly. Hey Malik, good morning, sir. Walker, good morning, sir. So the thing is Rich Dad Poor Dad will say if you have 10 things, let's say every month you have to put money towards 10 things, right? You have to put money to your bills and then to your savings account and maybe some spend money for you to have like a little bit of a, dinner or popcorn movie night, whatever, right? Rich Dad Poor Dad will say, pay yourself first, as in take the money and put it into the savings, put it into your pocket to spend money on whatever, right? Leave the bills for last. We've been flipping it. We've been paying the bills first, and then whatever's left over will go into savings. No, Rich Dad Poor Dad says, put in your savings first and then pay the bills, because guaranteed, he says, you're going to come up short, but you're going to be motivated to make that money when you have bills to pay. When you do it the other way and you pay your bills first and then pay yourself, you're not as motivated. So if you don't have money to put into your savings, you're not going to be motivated to go out and work harder. You're just going to say, all right, I'll get me next month. But do we ever get us? No, we don't. That's why Rich Dad Poor Dad says, pay yourself first. Put away in your kids' college funds, your retirement account, your investments, all of that at the beginning of the month. And then watch the bills come in. And then when the bills come in, you're going to find the energy to go and do your little streams and get your diamonds. You're going to find the energy to go drive that Uber car, okay? No, and that's why I'm using my channel to try to teach people differently, Empress Mandy, because the truth is that half of America had a different upbringing than the other half. So it's not like, I hate when people look at people, and I have to say this, I hate when people look at people of color and say we're lazy. We don't know better because we haven't been taught better. So if I could use my channel and bring some knowledge here that makes sense to somebody and say, you know what? I'm done paying these bills. I'm going to start paying me first. And then whatever's left over, pay the bills, and shoot, I'm going to come up short. So now I got to grind and hustle more. Thank you, baby. All the time. My ex-fiance was a Trinidadian living in New Jersey, and he ran a chain of Dunkin' Donut stores for his boss, who was Indian. And if you see the work ethic of these people, and then to have people of a Caucasian nature come into the store and yell at the employees because they don't speak English well and whatever, and say, go back to your country and whatever. I mean, it used to frustrate him. Yeah, they would pack up like 10 people in a 1-bedroom apartment. And these Indians would come from India and work like 24-hour days. I swear to you, they would just work and then take their whole paycheck and send back to India to take care of their family. And then you know how they grow rich? They all pool together. So those same 10 Indians in one apartment will all pool together to get Dinesh his house. his first house. Dinesh gets his first house, and then they all pull together to get, Ravi his house. And that's just how they do it. Random, good morning. And that's why we got to stop thinking that we can do this on our own. There's so many things that we can do as a collective and help each other. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So the fear of poverty. If you demand riches, determine what form and how much will be required to satisfy you. You know the road that leads to riches. You have been given a roadmap which, if followed, will keep you on that road. If you neglect to make the start or stop before you arrive, no one will be to blame but you. The responsibility is yours. Do any of you know how much money is required to satisfy you? We're very too divided, Yada, and that's why we got to bring ourselves together. Grow a business out of Uber. I'm now catching up. Okay. Someone that comes from nothing has more motivation to get than the one who has a silver spoon. Absolutely. At a disadvantage is the moment they stop supporting you. Yeah, thank you for the love, Bear. Thank you for the gifts, y'all. So do you know how much riches you require to satisfy you? I've always said it. I like when I make $10,000 months, which means 10,000 or above. If I make 10,000 or above, I am in comfort, and then I give back to my communities. Haven't been there for a long time, but that is what I know to myself, the actual amount. So do you write in the comments what you feel you need to make either monthly or annually? Like speak it into existence. I just said I would like to make $10,000 months. There you go. So it comes down to your state of mind. A state of mind is something that one assumes it cannot be purchased. It has to be created. Fear of poverty is a state of mind. Nothing else, but it is sufficient to destroy your chance of achievement. So think about this, especially people who grow up in the ghetto, right? If you grew up in the ghetto and nobody makes it out of the ghetto, do you have the confidence or even the drive to want to make it out? Now, at the same time, if you live in suburbia and you see how comfortably everybody lives, then you have the drive there to want to maintain that sort of living. You see what I'm saying? So you have to pay attention to the fact that your surroundings also have an effect on your state of mind. 10,000 would be a nice start. Yeah. Oh yeah, because you're in Canada. That's right. 10,000 a month. Let's speak into existence. We all make 10,000 a month. Generational change too, that part. Because a lot of people in the old generations really did believe in curses and hexes and things of that nature. Now, hopefully everybody understands that there's quantum physics out there that's letting us know your mind is creating your reality each and every single second of the day. So what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the past or are you looking to the future? That's what people have to pay attention to. I told y'all one of my favorite songs would be Bob Marley's Redemption Song, because of that one line, none but ourselves can free us from our minds. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery, right? Bob Marley got it. There's nobody that could put chains on us but ourselves. So at what point do you decide to take the chains off? Mandy, read this book. I promise you, read this book, because it's honest to God, it's a shift in mindset. And I'll tell you, I took a class in 2017 where it was focused on just shifting the mindset. And that class I took in April. And do you know, May, I was only working 3 days a week and 2 weekends a month. And I made $10,000 that May 2017. If we could be free, if we knew more. Yeah. For real. It's your mindset. So, We'll help you though. We'll help you rework the mindset, because once I did that, yes, I just shifted my mindset. And the funny thing was, I didn't even know, I didn't set a goal to make 10,000. I didn't, I just shifted my mindset based off of that class. And the things I teach you guys here is really off of that class. The fact of the matter is that everything is being created based off your thoughts. So one of the things I had to shift was focusing on the past or thinking about the past. Good morning.
Good morning.
Little choop choop. Eon is above. So fear of poverty is a state of mind. This fear paralyzes your reasoning, destroys your imagination, kills off self-reliance, undermines enthusiasm, and discourages initiative. I mean, it is a lot of things. The fear of poverty, without doubt, is the most destructive of the 6 basic fears. It has been placed at the head of the list because it is the most difficult to master. Considerable courage is required to state the truth about the origin of this fear. The fear of poverty grew out of man's, oh God, here they go. Here they go. Y'all ready for this? The fear of poverty grew out of man's inherited tendency to prey upon his fellow man economically. Y'all heard that? The fear of poverty grew. That is sad. Is anybody hearing this? Out of man's inherited tendency to prey upon his fellow man economically. Nearly all animals lower than man are motivated by instinct, but their capacity to think is limited. Therefore, they prey upon one another physically. Man, with his superior sense of intuition, with the capacity to think and reason, does not eat his fellow man bodily. He gets more satisfaction out of eating him financially. That is terrible. That's terrible. Basically, what they're saying is our fear of being poor doesn't come from anywhere else but the fact that we know that somebody else could get one over us or kill us financially. That means that we don't have trust in each other, or we don't have trust in the universe, or we don't have trust. The fear of poverty grew out of our inherited tendency to prey upon our fellow man economically. He's saying we're vultures. We're vultures. We prey off of each other. It is true. Crab in a barrel mentality. And for any of us in sales, I'm in sales. How many of us are ethical with our prices? Right? I'll tell you right now, what I charge for an hour here of my time in this area is what people in this area are charging for 30 minutes of their time. What they charge for 30 minutes is the same price as what I charge for an hour. You know why? Because for the life of me, I couldn't even think to gouge somebody in their time of need. I couldn't even think to gouge somebody in their time of need. So the thing is that, wow, I don't know about y'all, that shook me. Man is so avaricious that every conceivable law has been passed to safeguard him from his fellow man. We need laws to protect men from men. Wow. Thank you for the mushroom. Thank you for the raised hands. From countries, nations. But you're going to find this kind of mentality in a capitalist society. And we are a capitalist society where we encourage healthy business competition, right? But in essence, we're just pitting ourselves against each other. That's why I'll tell y'all right now, I came to live streams to have a good time, to have fun, to meet nice people. I love the diamond count. I love that I'm a paid streamer now. But here's the thing. You probably are not going to find me doing auctions or pageants or whatever else, or do like organized verses to encourage people to drop jets and dragons on me. Like none of that just makes any sense. We're pretty much animals is pretty much what he's calling us. Of all the ages in the world of which we know, the age in which we live seems to be one that is outstanding because of man's money madness. A man is considered less than the dust of the earth unless he can display a fat bank account. Put a 1 in the comments if you feel that's true. But if he has money, never mind how he acquired it, he is a king or a big shot. He is above the law. He rules in politics, dominates in business, and the whole world about him bows in respect when he passes, right? A man is considered less than the dust of earth unless he can display a fat bank account. Put a 1 in the comments if you believe that. And that's and you know what's even sadder, Empress Mandy, is that women keep men there too. Women keep men there too, because I can't date you. You can't be my boyfriend unless I know what's in your bank. We just keep like, ooh, sometimes I wish I was a celebrity. Sometimes I wish I was a celebrity for something, like up there with Kanye and Jay-Z and everybody, because I'd like to be that celebrity that actually gets people to understand the less money you have, the better off you are. Sad but factual. Capitalist masses, but reality, they want to see you fail. Right. Oh, it's all under control. But it's gonna take a lot of us getting out of our small communities, getting a larger platform like celebrity status, and then flipping the script. Highest up, do the ugliest thing. Oh yeah. It's flipping a script. I would love to have been like, I don't know, somebody who could sing really good or act really good and then be like a celebrity. And then I would start the trend of let's make our own clothes. Let's go to the farmer's market and buy our vegetables there. Let's not buy anything name brand, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting for that because we need to, let's go to the Grammys in a dress from Macy's. There, you know what I'm saying? Like, if any of you really make it out of the crab barrel, I hope you encourage that. And that just made me realize something. We'll talk about this in a second. That brought a lot of clarity to me about something. Wow. All right. The majority of marriages are motivated by the wealth possessed by one or both of the contracting parties. It is no wonder, therefore, that the divorce courts are busy. So eager is a man to possess wealth that he will acquire it in whatever manner he can, through legal methods if possible, through other methods if necessary. Self-analysis may disclose weaknesses which one does not like to acknowledge. This form of examination is essential to all who demand of life more than mediocrity and poverty. Remember, as you check yourself point by point, that you are both the court and the jury. Okay? Face the facts squarely. Ask yourself definite questions and demand direct replies. When the examination is over, you will know more about yourself. Do you guys do self-examination, right? You are after the truth. Get it no matter at what cost, even though it may temporarily embarrass you. The majority of people, if asked what they fear most, would reply, I fear nothing. The reply would be inaccurate because few people realize that they are bound, handicapped, whipped spiritually and physically through some form of fear. So subtle and deeply seated is the emotion of fear that one may go through life burdened with it, never recognizing its presence. Only a courageous analysis will disclose the presence of this universal enemy. When you begin such an analysis, search deeply into your character. Here's a list of symptoms for which you should look. So here's the symptoms of the fear of poverty. Ain't got much. Alan, one and only. Hello, how are you? Thank you for the raised hands. All right, so listen, see if you have these symptoms and tell me how much you have. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 symptoms of the fear of poverty. Let me know in the comments how many of these symptoms you have. That's great, Alan, one and only. That's the way to be. So, number 1, indifference. This is expressed through lack of ambition, willingness to tolerate poverty, acceptance of whatever compensation life may offer without protest, mental and physical laziness, lack of initiative or imagination. All right? Nice, but they ain't got $5 to name. What's good for real? We're going to talk about that in a second. So that's number 1. Number 2, indecision, the habit of permitting others to do one's thinking, staying on the fence. Number 3, doubt, generally expressed through alibis and excuses designed to cover up, explain away, or apologize for one's failures. Sometimes expressed in the form of envy of those who are successful or by criticizing them. Number 4, worry, usually expressed by finding fault with others, a tendency to spend beyond one's income, neglect of personal appearance, scowling and frowning, intemperance in the use of alcoholic drink, sometimes through the use of narcotics, nervousness, lack of poise, self-consciousness, and lack of self-reliance. Okay, I'm going to be honest and say I got the worry one. That's me for sure. Number 5, overcaution, the habit of looking for the negative side of every circumstance, thinking and talking of possible failure instead of concentrating upon the means of succeeding. That's Rose would say, those are people who have a problem for every solution. Worry is you too. Okay, so over caution. And then lastly, procrastination, the habit of putting off until tomorrow that which should have been done last year. So I have procrastination too. I'm still sitting on writing this book and finishing my certified mediumship course. I'm like so close, but I just stopped. You know, so I got to pick that back up. On the back burner too. So how many of those, I have 2 out of 6. How many of those symptoms do you have about the fear of poverty? 2, okay. Some will ask, why did you write a book about money? Why measure riches in dollars alone? Some will believe, and rightly so, that there are other forms of riches more desirable than money. Yes, there are riches which cannot be measured in terms of dollars. But there are millions of people who will say, give me all the money I need and I will find everything else I want. The major reason why I wrote this book on how to get money is the fact that the world has but lately passed through an experience that left millions of men and women paralyzed with the fear of poverty. And that would be us too, because we are doing it right now with COVID. What this sort of fear does to one was well described by Westbrook Pegler in the New York World Telegram. And he said, money is only clamshells or metal discs or scraps of paper. And there are treasures of the heart and soul which money cannot buy, but most people, being broke, are unable to keep this in mind and sustain their spirits. When a man is down and out and on the street, unable to get any job at all, something happens to his spirit, which can be observed in the droop of his shoulders, the set of his hat, his walk, and his gaze. He cannot escape a feeling of inferiority among people with regular employment, even though he knows they are definitely not his equals in character, intelligence, or ability. These people, even his friends, feel, on the other hand, a sense of superiority and regard him as a casualty. He may borrow for a time, but not enough to carry on his accustomed way, and he cannot continue to borrow very long. But borrowing in itself, when a man is borrowing merely to live, is a depressing experience. And the money lacks the power of earned money to revive his spirits. Of course, none of this applies to bums, but only to men of normal ambitions and self-respect. Women in the same predicament must be different. We somehow do not think of women at all in considering the down and outers. They are scarce in the breadlines, they rarely are seen begging on the streets, and they're not recognizable in crowds. Of course, I do not mean the shuffling women of the city streets who are the opposite number of the confirmed male bums. I mean reasonably young, decent, intelligent women. There must be many of them, but their despair is not apparent. When a man is down and out, he has time on his hands for brooding. He may travel miles to see a man about a job and discover that the job is filled, or that is one of these jobs with no base pay but only a commission on the sale of some useless knick-knack, which nobody would buy except out of pity. Turning that down, he finds himself back on the street with nowhere to go but just anywhere. So he walks and walks. He gazes into store windows at luxuries which are not for him and feels inferior and gives way to people who stop to look with an active interest. He wanders into the railroad station or puts himself down in the library to ease his legs and soak up a little heat. But that isn't looking for a job, so he gets going again. He may not know it, but his aimlessness would give him away even if the very lines of his figure did not. He may be well dressed in the clothes left over from the days when he had a steady job, but the clothes cannot disguise the droop. He sees thousands of other people, bookkeepers or clerks or chemists or wagon hands, busy at their work, and envies them. They have their independence, their self-respect and manhood, and he simply cannot convince himself that he is a good man too. It is just money which makes this difference in him. With a little money, he would be himself again. Some employers take the most shocking advantage of people who are down and out. The agencies hang out little colored cards offering miserable wages to busted men, $12 a week, $15 a week. An $18 a week job is a plum, and anyone with $25 a week to offer does not hang the job in front of an agency on a colored card. I have a want ad clipped from a local paper demanding a clerk, a good, clean penman, to make telephone orders for a sandwich shop from 11 to 2 for $8 a month. Not $8 a week, but $8 a month. The ad says also state religion. Can you imagine the brutal effrontery of anyone who demands a good, clean penman for 11 cents an hour, inquiring into the victim's religion? But that is what busted people are offered. Thank you for the raised hands. So, fear of money, big one. Okay. Okay. So we're going to run through the rest quickly. There's the fear of criticism. Some believe that this fear made its appearance about the time that politics became a profession. Others believe it can be traced to the age when women first began to concern themselves with styles and wearing apparel. This author does not know when it started. The fear of criticism takes on many forms, the majority of which are petty and trivial. Bald-headed men, for example, are bald for no other reason than their fear of criticism. I don't even understand what this says. Heads become bald because of the tight-fitting bands of hats, which cut off the circulation from the roots to the hair. I can't believe they talk about this. Men wear hats not because they actually need them, but mainly because everyone is doing it. The individual falls into line and does likewise. I can't believe they wrote this. We're dying. Dad, are you there? Well, women seldom have bald heads or even thin hair because they wear hats which fit their heads loosely, the only purpose of the hats being adornment. I know, this was Mina, good morning. This was written, y'all, in 1937. So I'm just like dying because Rose and I'll Be Back have been having a bald-headed fight for a couple days now. Oh my gosh. Dad. It's terrible. The trends at the time, he's saying that they're bald because of the hats they're wearing. I was like, oh boy. So that's the other one, the fear of criticism, right? Now here's the symptoms. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 symptoms to show if you have fear of criticism. So see if you have these symptoms, and then you may have a fear of criticism. The first one is self-consciousness. So if you have nervousness, timidity in conversation, in meeting strangers, That's self-consciousness. Number 2, lack of poise. So that's expressed through lack of voice control. If you can't control how you talk or how you sound in front of people, if your voice goes up in a high pitch. No, we don't have those, baby. Number 3, personality. Lacking in firmness of decision, personal charm, and ability to express opinions. The habit of sidestepping issues instead of meeting them squarely. Right? That's number 3. Number 4, inferiority complex. The habit of expressing self-approval by word of mouth and by actions as a means of covering up a feeling of inferiority. So that's number 4. Number 5 is extravagance, the habit of trying to keep up with the Jonases by spending beyond what you make. Number 6, lack of initiative, failure to embrace opportunities for self-advancement. And number 7, lack of ambition, mental and physical laziness, lack of assertion. Does anybody have those? Those are the symptoms of fear of criticism. All right, the next fear is the fear of ill health. That's the one I do have. This is both physical and social heredity. Okay. A reputable physician estimated that 75% of all people who visit physicians for professional service are suffering with hypochondria, which is imaginary illness. Most convincingly, that the fear of disease, even when there is not the slightest cause for fear, often produces the physical symptoms of the disease feared. Powerful and mighty is the human mind, it builds or destroys. Playing upon this common weakness of fear of ill health, dispensers of medicines have reaped fortunes. You hear that part? That's why, listen, I was in the healthcare field for a very long time. I worked for a pharmaceutical drug company. I worked at a hospital. I worked at a psychiatric rehab addiction center, right? I volunteered at nursing homes and senior centers. I've done the whole kit and kabang with healthcare. Stay away from it. I only go to the doctor once a year unless I need to go for more. And the reason why is because you can go in there without a problem. And in my opinion, in my experience, I have seen problems created when there was no problem there. So just what I try to tell people is be your own advocate and don't just automatically assume that it's a teacher-student relationship when you have a doctor. I go in, I fight with my doctors, I fight with my nurses, I challenge them, I challenge their thinking, and I don't blindly accept what they tell me. If I blindly accepted what they told me, I would have a lifelong condition to this day and be taking a pill a day. I do not take a pill a day. My blood levels, my lab levels are normal, but I had to fight for that, right? If you understand what I'm saying. If I just blindly went along with them, I think my thyroid would be an issue today, or it would have been surgically removed. So be your advocate. You know your body best, and find a doctor or a family medicine practice where they respect that. They respect you as a patient and the fact that you are going to make the decisions concerning your health. Okay? That's all I'm going to say about that. Because the fear of ill health is real. And just like he said, there are people who prey on your fears. We are the only animal species where we have to create laws to protect us from our fellow man. So pay attention to that, okay? Pay attention to that. Thank you, babe. You're going to be concise and more. Think of what you got. Yeah, and then you go to a doctor and they're going to be happy to sign off on that, right? I worked at a place where the physician was prescribing medication, not because of how great the drug worked, but because of the relationship he had with that drug rep. So if the drug rep was taking him out to strip clubs and expensive dinners and Broadway shows and all of that, we were prescribing that drug for that month. I want you to pay attention to that, okay? It's a business. And the less time I spend at these hospitals and these doctors' offices, the better it is for me to remind myself that there's a full life out here. And just because people say that's the norm, Like I remember, let's be clear, I have a WAP. Most women do. And then the first thing you hear from older women is, oh, yeah, but that's going to go away. When you get older, that's going to go away. And you're kind of like, okay, I guess. So you start to accept it, right? Okay, I guess that's going to go when I get older. Until I met Lizette, because sometimes you need just like that shake up call. No, they say when I get older, it's going to. But Lizette was like, I told her the same thing. I was like, yeah, because we were talking about it because women talk about everything. And I was like, yeah, I got one too. And she's like, I got one too. And then I was like, yeah, and I know it's going to go away, but I'm going to enjoy it for a while it's here. She's like, go away or what? My mom is in her 80s. She's still, and she don't need no extra help. Okay. I was like, really? Start repping. Now I'm thinking I'm in the wrong field. I need to start repping Pfizer. You want to represent Pfizer? Pfizer's one of them big ones. So I was glad for Lizette because she had to remind me that just because it's the norm doesn't mean it has to happen to you. And also too, since when were you ever the norm, Uma? Since when were you ever the norm? You need those kickbacks. I hear you on that. I mean, it was a lucrative business when I worked for pharmaceuticals. It was very lucrative. They knew how to pay well. There is overwhelming evidence that disease sometimes begin in the form of negative thoughts. Look at that. He is saying it right there, what we just talked about. Such an impulse may be passed from one mind to another by autosuggestion or created by an individual in his own mind. A man who is blessed with more wisdom than this incident might indicate once said, when anyone asks me how I feel, I always want to answer by knocking him down. Doctors send patients into new climates for their help because a change of mental attitude is necessary. The seed of fear of ill health lives in every human mind. Worry, fear, discouragement, disappointment in love, and business affairs cause this seed to germinate and grow. Okay? So here's the symptoms. Tell me if you have these symptoms of the fear of ill health. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here we go. 6. There's 6. Autosuggestion, the habit of negative use of self-suggestion by looking for and expecting to find the symptoms of all kinds of disease. Right? That's number 1. Number 2, hypochondria, the habit of talking of illness, concentrating the mind upon disease and expecting its appearance until a nervous break occurs. It's brought on by negative thinking. That's hypochondria. Number 3, exercise. Fear of ill health often interferes with proper physical exercise and results in overweight by causing one to avoid outdoor life. That's me. That's number 3. Thank you for the mushroom and the lucky horseshoes. Number 4, susceptibility. Fear of ill health breaks down nature's body's resistance and creates a favorable condition for any form of disease. The fear of ill health is related to the fears of poverty, especially in the case of the hypochondriac, who constantly worries about the possibility of having to pay doctor's bills, hospital bills, etc. This person spends more time preparing for sickness, talking about death, saving money for cemetery lots and burial expenses. Number 7, self-coddling, the habit of making a bid for sympathy using imaginary illness as a lure. Ooh. And intemperance, the habit of using alcohol or narcotics to destroy pains such as headaches, neuralgia, instead of eliminating the cause. Okay, I got intemperance because I have anxiety, so I do drink and use gummies for my anxiety. So that's interesting. I have 2 out of them, exercise and intemperance. Now, let's move to the fear of loss of love. Ooh, especially since this is a dating site. Oh, the source of this fear needs but little description. It obviously grew out of man's polygamous habit of stealing his fellow man's mate and his habit of taking liberties with her whenever he could. Jealousy and other forms of dementia grow out of this man's fear of the loss of love of someone. This fear is the most painful of all the 6 basic fears. It plays more havoc with the body and mind than any of the other fears. The fear of the loss of love probably dates back to the Stone Age when men stole women by brute force. They continue to steal females, but their technique has changed. You know what's funny? Lockie, good morning. You know what's funny is that Rose told me this about being on these streams. He's like, women can like me, but they'll know I have a girlfriend and then they'll leave it alone. Men can like you, know that you have a boyfriend, and still want to come for you. And I'm kind of like, no, that's not true. But that's what this is saying. Instead of force, they said they continue to steal females, but their technique has changed. Instead of force, they now use persuasion, the promise of pretty clothes, cars, and other bait, much more effective than physical force. I'm laughing about that because I sometimes have guys that get in the box to show me what they like, what they drive, or how much they have like a stack of cash in their hands, and I'm like, what are you doing? That's crazy. I had one guy get in the box and say, does your man give you money? And I'm like, sure, yeah, okay. I was like, what? All right, so here's the symptoms of the fear of loss of love. If you have these three, then you may have a fear of loss of love. Jealousy, the habit of being suspicious of friends and loved ones without any reasonable evidence. That's number one. Number two, fault finding, the habit of finding fault with friends, relatives, business associates, and loved ones. And number three, gambling, the habit of gambling, stealing, cheating, and otherwise taking hazardous chances to provide money for loved ones with the belief that love can be bought. Wow. So if you have those three, you might have the fear of loss of love. Anybody got that? Then there's the fear of old age. In the basic fear of old age, man has two very sound reasons for his fear. One, growing out of his distrust of his fellow man, who may seize whatever worldly goods he may possess, and the other arising from the terrible pictures of the world beyond, which were planted in his mind. The possibility of ill health, which is more common as people grow older, is also a contributing cause of this common fear of old age. Wow. And then eroticism also enters into the cause, as no man cherishes the thought of diminishing sexual attraction. The most common cause of fear of old age is associated with the possibility of poverty. Poor house is not a pretty word. It throws a chill into the mind of every person, right? That's why people say they have children, is it's your guaranteed inheritance, right? No, it's our last chapter. I have a few more pages left. I'm nearly done. So here's the symptoms. Yes, it's a really good book. I read it every year. It reminds me that all of this is created by my mindset. So here's the symptoms of the fear of old age. The most common symptom of this fear is a tendency to slow down and develop an inferiority complex at the age of mental maturity, around the age of 40. Falsely believing yourself to be slipping because of age. Thank you for the gifts. Whatever. Don't kick them. The habit of speaking apologetically of oneself as being old, merely because one has reached the age of 40 or 50, instead of reversing the rule and expressing gratitude for having reached the age of wisdom and understanding. Wow. So if you start like, okay, I'm in my 40s, and if you start reaching your 40s and you start slowing down because you're kind of like, all right, I don't want to compete anymore. I'm inferior. You know, instead of me trying to make that $10,000 a month income, let me just go ahead and settle for 5. No, don't slow down. As we've learned in this book, many of these men came into their riches in their 40s and 50s. So if you're in your 30s, good for you. For those of us in our 40s, still good for us, because you really seem to hit your stride in your 50s. All right? So we got time. We all got time. Then there's the fear of death. I mean, we don't have to talk about what the fear of death is. It's people afraid because they don't know what's in the beyond, right? And the symptom of the fear of death is the habit of thinking about dying instead of making the most out of life. So if you're only focusing on dying instead of like actually living, like what's the saying? Is either you're living to die or dying to live, right? I'd like to say I'm dying to live. Like I'm just taking advantage of all the opportunities Right. So the seventh basic evil. In addition to the six basic fears, there's another evil by which people suffer. It is so subtle that its presence often is not detected. This affliction cannot properly be classified as a fear. It is more fatal than all of the six fears. This evil is susceptibility to negative influence. Men who accumulate great riches always protect themselves against this evil. The poverty-stricken never do. Those who succeed in any calling must prepare their mind to resist evil. If you're reading this philosophy for the purpose of accumulating riches, you should examine yourself very carefully to determine whether you are susceptible to negative influences. Okay? So you have to hold yourself accountable, check your mindset, and see, are you susceptible to negative influences? I actually told my boyfriend, I'm not a jealous person in terms of like checking his phone, where are you going, who are you talking to, who's in your life. I'm not that person. But I am very aware of your mindset needs to be pure. You can't create your life unless your mindset is pure. And he had this female in his life that would come into his live streams and just say the most negative things towards him. Now, he's a very nice guy. He's a tolerating guy. He's very compassionate. He let it slide. I didn't want to let it slide because that is what this is saying. It's not even a fear. It is the most evil and it's beyond fears. And what they're saying, if you're susceptible to negative influences, because here's what happens. She might be joking around, whatever, and all that, making fun of him, his appearance, the way he talk, whatever. And he might be laughing it off because it really doesn't hurt him. He don't care. But that stuff starts to embed in the subconscious mind. And then things start to go wrong in your life and you don't know why. And that's when you come to realize, because this stuff is embedded deep. If I have any girlfriend who doesn't like my boyfriend, I move away from them. Now, the outside world is going to tell you that's a wrong thing to do. You're giving up your friends for your man. No, I'm giving up negative talking to me about my man, because that stuff starts to embed. And you could have a perfectly good relationship go down the drain because too many people embedded stuff in your mind. And now all you can hear is that. So even if he's doing something nice for you, or you guys are in a good place, you can completely go into a negative place. Hi, Vegas. We are nearly done with Think and Grow Rich. Just 3 more pages left. So let me finish this off. So they're saying that this is worse. This is worse than the 6 basic fears. Being open to negative influences is worst. Good morning. So how to protect yourself against negative influences? Let's talk about that. To protect yourself against negative influences, recognize that you have willpower and put it into use until it builds a wall of immunity against negative influences in your mind. Recognize the fact, hey, Richson, I'm good, how are you? Recognize the fact that you and every human being is by nature lazy, indifferent, and susceptible to all suggestions, which harmonize with your weaknesses. Oh, Lord, they're calling us out now. Recognize that you are by nature susceptible to all the 6 fears and set up habits for the purpose of counteracting all these fears. Recognize that negative influences often work on you through your subconscious mind. Therefore, they are difficult to detect, and keep your mind closed against all people who depress or discourage you in any way. Do you guys hang out with people that you know are not good for you and you keep hanging out with these people? You know, the funny thing is about that is when I was growing up, I actually wanted to be a journalist because I love to write. I wanted to be a writer for the New York Times, interestingly enough. Brittany, thank you for the fave. I did. I always wanted to live in New York, but Manhattan, like not the boroughs, like Manhattan. And I wanted to be a journalist. It's funny that you say that. See some faces around the block. Okay, so I wrote for my school paper, no lie. Calling me out on these streets, Vegas. I am Brittany, but I have a boyfriend. So recognize that you are by nature susceptible to all the 6 basic fears and set up habits for the purpose of counteracting all these fears. Clean out your medicine chest, throw away pill bottles, stop pandering to colds, aches, pain, and imaginary illness. Deliberately seek the company of people who influence you to think and act for yourself. You know what was funny is I meet a lot of people here on these live streams, right? And when they meet me, I think they assume that I'm going to be their cheerleader. I've never in my life been a cheerleader for my friends. I've been more of a philosopher. You know what I'm saying? So if my friends do something wrong and they call me, I'm going to call it out. I'm going to say, do you really think you are acting in your best interest or the best interest of everyone involved? Do you think that was the highest thing you could? I frustrate the hell out of my friends. That's why I tell my friends, don't call me. Call our other friends for advice or to moan or to lament. Don't call me because for the life of me, Lockie, you know what I'm talking about. Puerto Rican princess knows what I'm talking about. This is who I've been since I was 6 years old. She said, I'm calling. You can call. You just not allowed to get mad at me about what I say because I'm always going to bring it to this higher level. Hi, Pitmo. All right. So deliberately seek the company of people who influence you to think and act for yourself. Yes, please. Do not accept troubles as they have a tendency not to disappoint. How many of you accept the craziness in your life and say, well, I got to tolerate this. She's my daughter. That's my father. Right? Thank you. Friends that call us out. And then when we have friends, I am the friend that always calls my friends out. And that's the problem for me. And that's why I don't have a lot of female friends, because my female friends, I've come to realize, don't want me to be who I naturally am. They want me to be what they need me to be, which is another female friend that's going to be like, oh yeah, he's an asshole. Oh, I can't believe he did that. And I can't do that. Ever since I was like, I can't do that. I could say, but okay, I understand he did this to you, but can you understand your actions in this? What have you been doing? You don't like him lying to you, but have you not been lying to him? They hate that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like a girlfriend in that aspect. I'm a girlfriend in, we can hang out, we can have fun, but I'm not really good at giving the advice, I'll tell you that. Without doubt, the most common weakness of all human beings. What is the most common weakness of all human beings? It's the habit of leaving their minds open to negative influence of other people. This weakness is all the more damaging because most people do not recognize that they are cursed by it, and many who acknowledge it neglect it or refuse to correct the evil until it becomes an uncontrollable part of their daily habits. To aid those who wish to see themselves as they really are, the following list of questions have been prepared. Read the questions and state your answers out loud. So we're going to do an exercise now. This is a self-analysis. Put a 1 in the comments if you're still here. We're going to do a self-analysis with these questions. La Queen. Oh, Rosé's still here. Vegas. What's good? Yay. All right. If you have a piece of paper or whatever, like really take your time and do this exercise. I know some of you at work, so just keep it in the back of your mind, right? Because at the end, there's like a couple of questions here. They said, if you've answered all of these questions truthfully, you know more about yourself than the majority of people. Study the questions carefully, come back to them once each week for several months, and be astounded at the amount of additional knowledge of great value. Here's what we'll do. We'll do this very quickly, but I might bring this back again in another, like just this questionnaire, I might bring back again in another stream because this is a really good stream. Okay, so this is a self-analysis. Okay, I'm going to go quick. Here we go. Number 1, do you complain often of feeling badly? And if so, what is the cause? And you can write in the comments if you want to. We're not going to write all, but if anything jumps out to you, write in the comments. Like I'll tell you, I feel badly. When I see other people get embarrassed for whatever reason, I feel really badly about that. And I feel badly if I perceive I hurt anybody, even if they tell me, no, they're fine. I'm like, no, I still feel bad about that. Number 2, do you find fault with other people at the slightest provocation? I used to be that way. I'm not going to lie. Number 3, do you frequently make mistakes in your work? And if so, why? No, I don't do that. Number 4, are you sarcastic and offensive in your conversation? I hate sarcasm. Like I'm sarcastic, but I've seen people really cut people down with their sarcasm, and that hurts me to see too. Yeah. Okay, that's good. What's good? Thank you for being honest. Number 5, do you deliberately avoid association of anyone? And if so, why? I do. There's a bunch of girls that work at the center. I actually got them the suites upstairs. They took over my suites, and they're too gossipy and messy and in everybody's business. And I just don't like the energy. So I don't associate with them anymore. Depends on who, like Rose. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, I think when you and Rose are sarcastic to each other, it's all in fun and games. But there's people who really send that sarcasm with a hint of poison, like a poison arrow. You're not trying to kill him. You're just trying to make fun of him. Number 6, do you suffer frequently with indigestion? Oh, that's funny. I have a friend who suffers from indigestion. Exactly. I can be, but I don't. I know you got it in you. I could tell already. Number 7, does life seem futile and the future hopeless to you? Number 8, do you like your occupation? If not, why? Why don't you like your occupation? I love my occupation. I love what I get to do. Dry cause, it's the mean people I can't. Agreed, Vegas. It hurts me to see people being mean to other people. Like, I love food. I don't like people. 7, sometimes 8, yes. Okay, good. 9, do you often feel self-pity? And if so, why? I do feel self-pity sometimes because I'm like here, always working, always serious, always studious. And then I see my friends out there having a good time. And I'm like, oh, poor Uma can't go outside in the sun and have fun like everybody else because Uma's trying to become a millionaire. Like I go into that. I'm not going to lie. Sir Triple, you're here. Thank you for the 100. Number 10, are you envious of those who excel you? All the damn time. I'm going to tell y'all that. I'm going to be honest with y'all. If you're doing better than me, I'm jealous. I'm envious. Because I feel I work so damn hard. And I'm like, damn it, how did they get there before me? The funny thing is I haven't been envious of somebody for a very long time because I really am leading the pack in my area of what I do. So, Andrew, thank you for the fave. Good morning. Number 11, are you gaining or losing self-confidence as you grow older? Ooh, I'm definitely gaining self-confidence as I grow older. Number 12, do you learn something of value from all mistakes? Yes. 13, are you allowing some relative or acquaintance to worry you? Thank God it's Fridays. Ooh. And you're only 35. I can't wait to see you in your 40s. Miss Backwoods, we are taking a self-analysis quiz. Just ask yourself these questions. 14, are you sometimes in the clouds and at other times in the depths of despondency? That's true, I am. 15, who has the most inspiring influence upon you? What is the cause? That's a good question. Who has the most inspiring influence upon you? Who has the most inspiring influence on you? My dad. I mean, if I'm to be honest, my dad retired in his 60s. And it's funny because he has a thriving business that he still works, but like, the business is in Guyana, he's in Florida, so he runs it from over here, like just talking to his people every day. But him and my mom take maybe about 5 or 6 trips a year. He hangs out at home, like he's just living the life. Ooh, a lot of grandparents, grandma, mom. So like, why are they a great influence on you guys? Why is your little cousin who's 3 years old a great influence on you? Like for me, my dad's the influence on me because my dad takes care of everybody in the family. He made it out of a third world country. He became wealthy. And now he literally takes his money and helps everybody, his sisters, his nieces, his nephews, his cousins, his wife, his children. My dad's a very giving person. He made a lot of wealth and then he redistributed it back into the family. She makes you want better, to be better and do better. And your mom always supports you. And I love that. He works his whole life. He deserves it. Yes, absolutely. And that's how I feel because my brothers would be like arguing and talking about, oh, this, that. And I'm like, men live to about their 80s, right? And I'm like, if my dad retired in his 60s, he got a good 20 years to play. Go ahead and play, sir. Play. And grandma beats me. Fonzie, we're doing a self-analysis quiz. Answer these questions. All right, where are we at? Number 16. Okay, Vegas. Do you tolerate negative or discouraging influences which you can avoid? I used to, and you guys answer this in the comments, right? I used to tolerate like negative influences from people who I care about. So like strangers, I would just get rid of in a heartbeat. But if it's like my parents or my children, I would tolerate it. Need to learn how to teach discipline from her. Or you need to learn discipline? Do you tolerate negative or discouraging influence which you can avoid? And I started avoiding it by just being very clear with my family. Look, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm 43. I've lived this life long enough for everybody to make everybody happy. Now that I'm in my 40s, I'm going to make myself happy. And everybody kind of got on board with that. They're like, yeah, you're right. You've been a good child. Number 17, are you careless of your personal appearance? If so, when and why? No, I'm very careful of my personal appearance. Ooh, 18, have you learned how to drown your troubles by being too busy to be annoyed by them? Aww, you got some birthday shoes. I love that. I love when I treat myself because I think there's people who just overspend on themselves. So when you overspend on yourselves, you can't really appreciate the little things that you bring into your life. But me, I don't shop a lot. So when I do shop and I buy something for myself, I really appreciate the hell out of it. You know what I mean, Fonzie? Because you saved up for it and then you spent it and you got it. And it's like, ooh, feel good about it. Okay, 22, do you resort to liquor, narcotics, or cigarettes to quiet your nerves? If so, why do you not try willpower instead? So that includes weed. Do you resort to like liquor, narcotics, drugs, weed, cigarettes to quiet your nerves? If so, why do you not try willpower instead? Yeah, so you see, you got cigarettes, liquor, weed. Me too. It's the liquor and the weed. And the thing is like, what's funny? Is this week I've been really having a talk to myself about it because I gained weight I was doing really good on my weight loss and I gained a lot of weight in a very short period of time. And usually when that happens, it's because I'm drinking too much. You know what I'm saying? So it's because when I drink too much, it's sugar. It's just all sugar. And then you go up in the weight and you're like, ooh, I'm beginning to look puffy in the face, puffy in the belly. And I'm like, I don't like that. And I thought to myself, I really want to create a life where I don't need the edibles, where I don't need the alcohol. I can just actually have a good time without it. But to be honest, I don't know life like that. But I have to kind of rework that because I do want to exhibit more willpower. Number 24, do you have a definite major purpose? And if so, what is your definite major purpose? And what plan do you have for achieving it? Social drinker, that's good. Okay, I have a definite major purpose. It is to grow my social media platform because I want to teach about metaphysics, the natural laws, psychic mediumship ability. I want to teach on these things. I want to spread meditation and yoga and all the good things that can help develop people in mental and emotional and body health. And I'm doing that by doing these things like live streams on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all of that to grow my social media presence. Psychic Network College. Ooh, can I be a teacher? Right? Do you have a method by which you can shield yourself against the negative influence of others? Yeah, my method is I quickly identify your energy. If I don't like it, I cease communication with you. Well, it depends on how dire it is. Like that person I was talking about earlier who would go into Rosé's room and talk negativity. I have absolutely no communication with her. And she never did me per se that much bad. She did me some bad, but not a lot. But because of her energy and her disposition, I just really quickly identified I don't need to be around that person at all. So I 100% cut her out of my life. Now there's other people I tolerate that do bad things, and especially bad things to me, but they also do a lot of good things to me. So their involvement in my life is there. It's not a lot, but it's there. I haven't found out exactly what I'm supposed to do. Thank you for being honest, Locke. I'm assistant dean. I love it. No, Rose's live is going to be at 10. At 10. Do you make deliberate use of auto-suggestion to make your mind positive? Are you doing mantras every day? Are you doing affirmations every day? Rose. Which do you value most? And be honest, your material possessions or your privilege of controlling your own thoughts? I value most the fact that I can control my own thoughts because I'm manifesting like crazy over here. And I know I'm manifesting like crazy because I have a good control on my thoughts. Nursing home. Material Fonzie, thank you for being honest. All right, these are really good questions. I'm going to come back to this and get some of these questions here for the room. By what rules do you judge who is helpful and who is damaging to you? The rule I use is how it makes me feel. If I feel good within myself, then I know that this person is helping me. If every time I'm around this person and I don't feel good, or I'm just spirit's drawing my attention to things they do, I'm like, this may not be a good person for me. There you go, Locke. Material ain't worth much. Very true. By who's present still in my life. Very true. Okay, so ask yourself this really strong question. Out of 20, everybody knows you get 24 hours in a day, right? In your 24 hours, how much time is given to your occupation, to sleep, to play, to acquiring useful knowledge, and to just that you just waste? So those 5 things. So I already know I sleep 7 hours every night without fail. That's why I don't go to bed too early, because I can only sleep 7 hours for whatever reason, 7 hours. So out of 24 hours, I spend 7 hours sleeping. I work 7:30 to 3:30. So what is that? 8 hours? 8:30, 9:30, 2, 3. Yeah, so 8 hours is work. Well, no, because I have the afternoon stuff too. So 10 hours is work. So out of the 17 hours left, 10 hours is work. And then out of the 7 hours, I do play with my kids for an hour and then acquire useful knowledge. I would say another hour with me reading all this stuff. So that's 2 hours. And 5 hours plain waste. I waste 5 hours a day. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. So I work 10 hours. I sleep 7 hours. I play an hour. I learn an hour. And I waste 5 hours a day. I'm going to try to get that down. I'm going to try to get down to where I waste 2 hours a day. Because I mean, you got to have some waste, right? Did you guys count yours? I see Fonzie put 12.46. You probably work 12 hours. I don't know what yours are. What is your greatest worry and why do you tolerate it? My greatest worry is that I die and I didn't do anything with this life. Like I didn't affect a lot of people. I'd like to affect a lot of people before I die in some positive way. Like, oh, wow, Uma taught me this thing and now it changed my life. Oh, wow, Uma told me this thing and that changed my life. Like I really, really, really desire that. 2 hours acquiring knowledge. Okay. Yes. Yes, that would be a big one. I'm actually watching Snowfall. I'm in season 2 where he got locked up, and just seeing that and seeing what he's going through. I think about all my friends who've been through, you know, the prison system. And I'm like, wow, it's a whole different life. A kid to carry the legacy. That's a big one. That would be a big worry, Locke. What's 1057? You guys are writing it, but I don't know. Well, 10 for your occupation, 5 for your sleep, 7 for relaxation or play, 7 for play. Okay. All right. We're going to end here. You know, they just have more things that I'm probably going to bring in later streams. But let me just end with this. In parting, I would remind you that life is a checkerboard and the player opposite you is time. This is the ending of this book, okay? So let's pack it in. Life is a checkerboard. The player opposite you is time. If you hesitate before moving or neglect to move promptly, your men will be wiped off the board by time. You're playing against a partner who will not tolerate indecision. Amen to that lot. 5-hour downtime, 7 hour. Good. Okay, what's good? Okay. Previously, you may have had a logical excuse for not having forced life to come through with whatever you asked, but that alibi is now obsolete because you are in possession of the master key that unlocks the door to life's bountiful riches. The master key is intangible, but it is powerful. It is the privilege of creating in your own mind a burning desire for a definite form of riches. There is no penalty for the use of the key, but there is a price you must pay if you do not use it. The price is failure. There is a reward of stupendous proportions if you put the key to use. It is the satisfaction that comes to all who conquer self and force life to pay whatever is asked. The reward is worthy of your effort. Will you make the start and be convinced? If we are related, said the immortal Emerson, we shall meet. In closing, may I borrow his thought and say, if we are related, we have, through these pages, met. That is the end of Think and Grow Rich. Whew. Now, I will tell you before I end, next week, we're going to be reading a book that was recommended to me by my good friend, King Panther. It is called Propaganda. And we're going to be reading that next week. It's a short book, as you can see, so it's not going to be long at all. And we're going to try to get through that book next week. Thank you, YouTube, for following me. I hope you enjoyed the reading, my reading of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.